This has been very disgusting, to say the least, period in world affairs, with the horrible attack on Israel, and then the just as horrible, if not worse, reaction by Netanyahu and the Israeli military. And as much as what Hamas did was horrendous, and let's just understand, somewhere between 1,000 and now I've heard the numbers jump up to 1,400 people were killed. That's horrendous. And it was civilians. The Israeli bombardment of, first it appeared to be northern Gaza, and then moving to the rest of Gaza. They're telling people to get out, knowing full well that 2 million people could not move in that small area south. It looks more like ethnic cleansing than anything else. And why would I say that? Since the creation of Israel, 1947, 1948, Israel was based on ethnic cleansing. You had European immigrants who started migrating from Europe really as far back as 1910. They started in dribs and drabs coming. Yes, there were some indigenous Israelis in the area, but they were a very small part of the population. They were less than 20%. But Great Britain, with its infinite wisdom, and they believe they have infinite wisdom and an infinite right to steal people's land, culture, and whatever else they want to steal. They've done it all over the world. Probably the most horrible imperial nation that's ever existed. Creating and controlling the League of Nations, with the United States following in tow, decided to create the state of Israel as a compensation for what Germany did in Europe. And their way of doing it was to destroy the homeland of the people who were living there. They had been part of the Ottoman Empire. It's a Muslim empire, and they had been living there. But they wanted to create a Jewish state. They wanted to move the people out. They destroyed around 500 and some odd villages. Can you imagine the cruelty, the barbarism of doing that? And of course, the indigenous people in the area did not accept it, and there was a war in 47, 48. But with the support of Europe and the United States, they didn't have a chance. And so the state of Israel was created. And there was a war in the 50s again, then the 67 war, the 73 war, and then the various intifadas. I'm not going to go into detail because most people who pay attention to the news know about it. But the key thing that most people do not focus on is that these people who moved into Israel are not from there. They're Europeans. Google it. Look at their DNA. They are from Europe. They're European colonists, no different than the Americans who came and wiped out the indigenous population in America. It's exactly the same process, exactly the same attitude. They're doing it now. Just like the so-called Indians were wiped out. That is what the Israelis are doing in Palestine, in that land. It's a horrible genocide. And we are watching it. We as Americans are paying for it. And he's playing along with it. Never like Biden. Since he first went to the Senate as a 29-year-old when I was in college, and he proposed a constitutional amendment banning busing, so it would enshrine racial segregation in large parts of the country. Yes, this is Biden, who black people put in office after Senator Clyburn pushed us to, because it was the only alternative to Donald Trump, and even worse, racist. And it looks like we're going through the same election process again. We've got to do better. But he is supporting Israel and Israel's genocide. He's disgusting. He's always been disgusting. He's disgusting now. Netanyahu is a criminal. He's doing this as much for his own personal self as he is for the country. He is in trouble with the law in Israel. He's been in trouble. He's corrupt. He's been trying to take over the court system and change it so they won't prosecute him. He's like Trump. They're the same kind of people. He may be a little brighter than Trump, because Trump is not bright. But this is what we are dealing with. It is utterly disgusting, but it's real. Americans, we have got to speak up, and we are. There was a very large demonstration of young Jewish people at Grand Central Station last Friday in New York, and go right ahead. That was wonderful. And there have been some demonstrations around the world. But we've got to keep it up, because this crazy genocide, just because Hamas did something stupid, you have to understand Gaza is basically a concentration camp. Inside, Hamas had power to rule, but not really. Look, there's no electricity, there's no water, there's no internet, because Israel controls that. Israel controls the water that's under Jordan. I mean, it's really, really bad. But anyway, I've said enough. Even talking about the state of Israel makes me sick to the stomach. Anyway, have a good day. And please don't follow what's on the news. To see how horrible the Israeli lobby is, 3 Muslim journalists were removed from MSNBC, the so-called liberal cable television station, just because they were Muslim. Immediately after this war started, a CNN journalist was fired because he presented the viewpoint of the Palestinian people. He happened to be African American. It's just a horrible time, and it reminds us of what America really is, a supporter of European colonialism. It's a product of European colonialism. Have a good day, okay, or good evening.